was a good one right on there. Greg is becoming a conglomerate. He's doing some radio commercials. He's got an appearance scheduled Saturday.
John,
What?
is Tyler spending the night?
Yeah, he's going to spend the night.
And it's good after all the years.
He's got to spend the night with his friend.
He lives over there.
Swimwear Saturday? I don't think so.
Well, he spends the night over here, too.
No.
Your friend.
Upstairs.
He was married to a woman by the name of Loffer. And there were 2 Loffer children at the home. He owned a store in Huntington, Pennsylvania, and he had a big Cadillac, or a big car. He used to drive up to the home. He wasn't hurting for money anyway. But he'd drive up to the home, and I heard these 2 Lawford children in the home were his wife's sister's kids. So his wife would talk them into coming up to the home to see these 2 kids. But he'd never see us. Very seldom did he ever bother to. We knew he was up there, but very seldom did he ever say hello to us. No, we didn't even know that, you know, he acted like he didn't even know we were up there. But one time he did come up and got us together, and that's one time that I remember that Eleanor and I got to get together.
I got some letters that Mom had written her mother while she was in the orphanage, and they're kind of interesting too.
Because they kept the boys on one side of the street and the girls on the other. The only time you could see them was during school hours. If you were lucky enough to be in the same grade, why, you'd see them in the same classroom. But if you weren't in the same classroom, you may never see them. I don't know.
Well, how come the other ones didn't go to the
girls
orphanage?
ate in their own dining room, and the boys ate in their own dining room.
Well, how come it was just you and Mom that got?
Because we were in the middle. Geraldine and Jim and Bob were old enough to take care of themselves, and Polly and Rayford were too young. Mom didn't want to give them up. She wanted to raise them. So we were the 2 in the middle.
And she felt it was just too much for her to handle.
Too much. 7 kids, it was too much. It was too much for her to handle.
And
7 kids, so she decided that we were the ones that went.
now, did your dad die unexpectedly? Is that what
Oh
happened?
yeah, he died in 1921 from he had a big lump here on his throat, and he stepped out on the porch one night and coughed and broke his blood vessel. His jugular vein broke, ruptured. And blood came out of his mouth and nose and ears, and there was blood everywhere. He died right there on the porch, right in front of us.
Is that you were there?
Oh yeah, I ran to the doctor.
So I mean, you remember that like yesterday?
Oh yeah. Jim and I ran up to get the doctor, and that was a long ways uptown.
What do
We
you-
lived out in the country.
What do you think that was on his throat?
Well, it was some kind of a growth that he was getting treated for. And he used to come home with these purple marks, like checkerboard marks on his throat, or on his neck. And what it was
Radiation?
Radiation marks. And I think that they over-radiated him and burned. I think they burned his jugular vein. I really believe that if it happened today, there'd be a malpractice suit.
Well, do you think he had cancer or something, or a tumor?
Yeah, it was they called it, in those days they called it stone cancer, but Edna said it was melanoma?
Myeloma?
What does Edna call that my dad had? My dad. Some melanoma or something like that.
Oh,
You think they would just cut it out today?
Or they
Probably.
would be they wouldn't have If they were giving him radiation treatment, they wouldn't have given it so. They wouldn't have made it so strong. I think what they did, they just made it too strong, and they burned the vessel.
Wow.
Yeah, today they probably could cut it out. I don't know.
Where's that growth Vicky had on? Did she have it on her face and her
I
neck?
don't remember Vicky having one.
Well, she has one that was too close to her artery. And they took it off, and it affected her eye. Now her eye droops.
Is that right?
Yeah. They said it wasn't cancer.
What was your dad like? Was he a pretty nice, quiet guy, or?
Quiet. Nice man. Did the best he could with what he had. He didn't have he never had a good job. He was a cabinet maker. Worked for the Pennsylvania Railroad. He was a brakeman on the PRR for a while. But his best job was a cabinet maker. And he was very clever with his hands. He could just about anything. He could do just about anything with his hands. Carpentry and all that kind of work. He wasn't the best provider in the world, but he was, as far as he could afford it, he was.
Well, how did he and your mama get together, do you know?
Hmm?
How did he and your mother get together?
I don't know, but we have some nice love letters that he wrote. Don't we? Hey,
What?
do we have those love letters that Dad wrote to Mom?
I don't know if somebody hadn't rooted through his stuff and taken them.
His stuff?
Our stuff, your stuff.
I'm talking about my father.
Yeah, I know. But did...
I don't know
thought
where
you
they...
had those.
I had them, and then Helen had them for a while, so I don't know. But yeah, he was, seemed like a very good courter. I don't know how he met her or when, you know, way back in 1900. Yeah, I remember having them because we still have those 2-cent stamps on them, on the envelopes, you
Yeah.
know. 2 cents. I went down to the post office one day and I got a roll of stamps. It was 29 cents. I got 100 of them, $29. I said, my God, they're going up. He says, it's the only thing that hadn't gone up in the country. It's postage. He says, you can still get a 3-cent stamp for 3 cents, and you can still get a 29-cent stamp for 29 cents. I says, well, come on, think of it that way, you're right. Said postman, he said, that's the only thing that hadn't gone up.
Hey, they're creeping up on them, aren't they? Must have got another home run.
Crab cakes.
Yep.
We made it to Bedford.
We sure did.
Ed's Steakhouse.
After a tiresome drive.
Okay, let's go. Thought I'd get a great waitress tonight.
I'm shy.
Huh?
I said I'm shy. I like cameras.
You're not shy, are
They
you?
don't like me. I am. They don't like me.
Yeah. Helen's is David. And Jonathan. And she's married to her, after her name you can put, what the hell's Helen's? Foster, F-O-S-T-E-R. And Barbara is married to Davis, and she has 2 other children. Charles? Well, Brian is his first name, Brian Charles. B-R-Y-A-N. Yeah, Brian Charles. And Brandon, B-R-A-N-D-O-N. And little girl, let's see, Corey, C-O-R-I. Yeah, that's right, now it's up to date.
Neely, not connected. Yeah. I have, this is one whole line of Neelys. Formerly spelled an E-I-G-H to E-I-G-H. Came from Germany. I've always all my life felt that we were Irish descent.
He told me, when he saw this shirt, he says, I thought you were German.
Well, I'm changing my mind and coming back to this group.
I'll be darned, I never knew that.
Now this one's pretty well documented.
I never knew that.
And I am, when he has documented his back to 1820, and there are similar names, but we can't make a connection. I would tend to like, I would like to trace it back to the German side. I can't do it. Now here's another branch of Neelys that came from the judge down in near Harrisburg. And this came directly from him, and
He says Scotch Irish.
he's Scotch Irish.
But you haven't made the connection with that family, right?
Yeah, I can't make the connection. I can't find out what the connection is. Now, here's another one that it is not connected. And I noticed one of these, I want to, it's interesting because one of the answers I got here, some time ago, I just don't know when, 20 or 30 years ago, I sent these questionnaires out to people in the phone book. Several of them I got back answers. Some of them are interesting. Some of them are black. Here, where I just saw one colored. Here, this one is colored. Because she gave a note in here. She goes back to some southern Neely that had slaves, and her family started
that's
there.
where they pick up the name, right?
So I've got a lot of these that there are, I can't connect them.
I told you he had a lot of information.
Yeah, he's been working at it, hasn't
I've got information, but I don't have a connection.
he? You're like me. I do it for a while and I get tired and then I put it down and then I come back to it.
Now here's a family that came from Ireland about the late 1700s, and that's all I have about them, but I don't have any connection.
Do you have any record of a Neely going down to Georgia?
No.
Starting a town down there called Neelyton?
No, but there's one down here in England County, Neely. And I have read in history about two brothers, Neely, going down into Kentucky with Daniel Boone, and I read somewhere where the Indians killed the one and the other was killed by a bear.
Yeah.
Well,
I heard that story too about somebody with Daniel, and matter of fact, I read it in some story about Daniel Boone.
I know also that there was a Neely locally in the middle of the state was captured by Indians, carried off to Detroit, and after the hostilities were over, come back home. I've got quite a bit of information on Neelys, and I cannot. Here's this guy out west, this parachute jumper. Youngest frightened boy, 12. Nick Neely.
Yeah.
I don't know what his connection is, but
Sounds like he's trying to make himself Irish, doesn't it?
So, all this, I would love to make some connections. And I can't do it, I don't have it. No, I have some out there in another folder.
Thomas, your grandfather and my grandfather were brothers then, is that right?
Yeah. My grandfather, no, yes, Thomas,
Thomas and James are brothers.
yeah. I got some information on Samuel. Your grandfather. I got a folder on Samuel, but I can't get past Samuel. Do you know where he's buried?
Mount Edna, right?
Yeah. Have you been to the grave?
I went there a long time ago. He's never been there.
It's right along the highway. It's
No, I've never been there. Since I was a boy. When I was a boy, I was out to their farm or out to their house. I picture myself and
tell you.
my grandfather sitting on the porch. And I'm 80 years old this month.
I'm 80 years old this month, on the 22nd.
Is that right?
21st.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
a year older. You're older.
A day older.
Day older. Do you know about your
Mine's
great-great-great-grandfather? Now, he worked at the iron
Foundry.
forge there
Oh, yeah.
at Mount Etna. And he, during the war, they were poor. They didn't have a whole lot of money. And three of his sons went to a civil war. And 2 of them were killed in the Civil War. And afterwards, they closed down the iron foundry, and he couldn't get work, and he applied for a pension from one of his sons, I forget which one now, that died from disease in the army, and he got a small pension. But when he died, then his wife, Eliza, she got a pension from my grandfather amounting to $8 a month. That's all she got, and that's what she had to live on, because they didn't pay much of a pension. I got his war record here. And what else can I tell you about your grandfather?
Have you found any census information on Sam?
Well, just the fact that he lived in Huntington County. No more information than that, and listed some of his children.
When you started doing this, did you ever talk to anybody that was older in the family?
Yeah, yes.
And they never could give you any information, huh?
No, you know, the funny thing, people wasn't interested in genealogy at that time. A lot of people didn't even know their grandfather's first name. When I would ask them, they'd say, "Well, no, I'm not sure what his first name was." I was interested in getting the connection, getting the first
That's
name.
what we were discussing on the way up here, that too many people, if they'd all thought about this before the older people died and left it on to their children,
Yeah.
we'd know all that stuff. But
I wish I would have talked more to my grandfather. Yeah, he died in 1927. I was not very old, and I wasn't interested in it myself. But he could have gave me a lot of information.
yeah.
Because he was just 3 years old when his father went off to war, and he was killed, and he didn't know much about his father. And his wife applied for a pension, and then she married later, and I would like to have known more about the family, the man that she married. I don't know anything about him much, except his name.
Were you in politics up here in the county?
Well, I was in borough council for
Oh, yeah. I thought
as
you
many
were.
years, and then I was in the Blair County.
I thought you were. See, I moved out of here in 1922. I left in 22. I went to an orphan's home because my mother couldn't keep 7 kids.
No, that would have been a problem.
I took off, and I hadn't come back until, and then I joined the Army, and I stayed in the Army for 30 years,
Yeah,
so
Yeah, you
I
told
don't
me
know
you
too
spent
much
a career in Europe.
about this area anymore, you know.
Did you ever try to trace any of the mothers, like his wife?
Yeah, my grandfather, his mother was at Gordon's, and I can't get back any further than her father's name. I haven't put a lot of effort to this. When I was a little younger, I did do a little more than I have lately. In fact, lately I just haven't done anything about it.
Well, I hope you don't mind me dropping by.
No, I don't.
I told John I wanted to introduce you to him, and
Now, how many children do you have?
3.
Are they interested?
Well, my daughter is.
Our oldest daughter, Darlene.
Yeah. She's
coming today. She's from Ohio, Bowling Green.
we're having a little reunion over here at Rayford's place
Oh, yeah.
today.
Well, now, Rayford gave me a lot of...
That's the reason for the shirt.
That's his first cousin, Rayford.
No,
Yeah,
we're-
second cousin.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's Rayford's brother.
That's my brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're second cousins.
Yeah.
Is that what we?
Well, then you'd be second cousin to him then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can't keep track of second and third, or which are third and...
No,
I was reading the lives of the presidents the other day, and they say such and such is the third cousin of so-and-so 7 times removed.
Yeah.
So I can't understand.
Well, I get lost on that.
Well, we'll ask Edna. I'm sure she knows all
Well,
that.
she has.
Edna is pretty well informed about the family.
Yeah.
Because she did a lot of work on it.
I know. And she can recite a lot of it without even looking at a book. He has it on tape of her saying how my father, it was just from my father down there,
Yeah.
and my mother. She knows it all. She'd say how many children they had, where they live now, who they're married to, how many kids they had, when they died, where they're buried.
Yeah.
She remembers all that, I don't know.
My memory's getting terrible. I can't remember this stuff. Julius changed the spelling of the name to Neely.
Yeah.
Now, if you look in the phone book for Blair County, there's about 6 or 8 Neelys.
I
They're
know.
all my first cousin.
I know.
And then there's a whole list of Neely. They are all cousins also. All stem from the same...
I
Yeah.
wonder why he
Same
did
guy
that. Maybe he couldn't spell.
Somebody just added an E.
I don't know, but Julius and all of his children are Neely. Richard and all his children are Neely. Now, I'm not sure about John, but they added the EY.
Yeah.
And first cousins, their father, Reuben, was Neely. He spelled his the same as his father did and his grandfather. I don't know why they did that, unless they felt they wanted to disassociate themselves from the
Could be.
Neely family.
Could be.
But a lot of times back then, at least I noticed on my Georgia side of the family, Ross, a lot of them didn't go to school and they were illiterate and they didn't spell very well, and either they spelled it wrong or they'd have somebody from the census come in and interview them and they tell them their name and they just put down what they thought they heard.
Yeah, that happened. That happened. Well, I have the Samuel's children line pretty well, except some of the later ones. I didn't have you
What I want to do is get everything from Charles down. I want to get it updated,
yeah.
and then I'll give you a copy of that.
All right, I'd love to have it.
So if you give me your address.
Okay.
They're strict Catholics.
Yeah.
They don't particularly appreciate the Mason stuff. I told them, I said, if I'd known you going down there, I'd take me that license.
Have a joint chicken barbecue every year.
That's good.
Yeah, and we've been doing that for about 10 years.
That's
And
good.
then they have it down at the Knights of Columbus Hall there, and
Well.
I'm belonging to the Oriental Band, and we get down there and
A
play.
lot of them don't understand, that's all. They
No.
don't understand what the Masons are.
There's nothing, there's no car. In July the 11th, 63. I know
That was your grandfather?
that was my grandfather. His brother died in the hospital in Cumberland, Maryland. He got sick in the Army, and he died there. Now, some of the other ones didn't die, and the War Office didn't have records of their death. They come home, and those two, I've got the complete war records for them. So, the other Neelys, there was a couple other ones. There was a Simon Neely, which lived in Hollidaysburg, and I can't get any more information about him.
How many pages did it take to get Joe's kids?
Well, not that
There's
much.
Joe Neely,
Yeah.
my father.
I remember him.
My father's brother.
He lived in Hollidaysburg.
Yeah, well, he's got so many.
He has a whole list of
His kids had so many kids.
And Hod had 13 himself.
Almost everybody in that phone book are related to us because of Hod Neely.
Yeah, I knew Hod well.
Yeah, Joe he had some family.
He had
some family, grandchildren anyway. Boy, oh boy.
Now my grandfather was Joe too, and there's a little confusion there. But this is Hod's family.
Look at all these.
Yeah. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I thought there were 12, yeah. But now I don't have their children. Now I would like to fill that in, and I could get that if I would talk to one of them. But I don't have that.
I haven't seen them for years. Matter of fact, I haven't seen them since I went to the orphanage home in 1922.
Well, I think they're all dead.
Of course,
Hod is dead.
I did stop back and see Uncle Joe right before he died.
Yeah.
He couldn't hear, and his wife, she couldn't hear. They both yelled at the top of their voice. They couldn't, neither one of them.
Maybe that's where our hearing loss is coming from, the Neelys.
Both of them stone deaf.
Hey, that's a Neely trait. I'm getting deaf. My dad was deaf, and all his brothers were deaf. Every one of them.
That's a great thing to know.
Are you getting that way?
My wife says I am.
Right here, I'm completely deaf here.
Well, I wear a hear. I'm not that bad.
I have to turn my right ear to my left.
If I'm
ear.
going out, I put the hearing aid in, but I've been getting by here without any problem. I'm not that bad. But my dad was stone deaf, and every one of his brothers were deaf.
Yeah.
Well, don't lose that book. Don't lose that book.
No, I won't. She was here one day visiting. When she left, she just took the book with her and she copied everything out of it. Now she won't have the updates in it, but I got to get
That's
ready
what you ought to do. That's what you ought to do. Get her address and then write to her, and maybe if she has a computer, right? Maybe she
Every darn one of these
Maybe
on the
she'll
back
send
of
you a
them,
copy.
I've got notes just like you gave me here. Now I won't have any problem entering it in when I get the time to type it up and get them in the proper order. I'll enter your information right in here under Eleanor.
Now, do you have
Zuleen, how do you say that? And that's an odd name.
Zulim? Zulim?
M.
Yeah, M.
Zulim.
I got an N.
No, it's M.
It's an M.
It's an E on the end.
L-E-M-E.
There's an E on the end of it too.
Just a minute, please.
What do you mean?
Hi.
Sam, his family originated in where? Mount Etna?
I don't know where they originated. The first record I know of is Mount Etna. So he probably worked there for many years. He worked there probably when the forge was first opened up.
And then, like your grandfather, where did they stay living around there?
My grandfather lived around Frankstown and Hollidaysburg and Duncansville, and he was a blacksmith, and he worked in stone quarries doing their blacksmith work. And when they built Lake Altona, he went up there as a blacksmith, and he worked up there. So other Neelys worked either in the Pennsylvania Railroad Company, and there were a lot of Neelys worked at Berwyn-White company below Hollidaysburg there. They repair railroad cars and stuff. There were a lot of Neelys worked in there. My uncles, I had 3 uncles work in there. And
So I think a lot of them worked for the railroad, and as they worked with the railroad, they started moving different places in the country.
Yeah, yeah. Many of them, the local ones, many of them worked for the railroad. Now, your Uncle Joe, he worked for the Hollidaysburg Borough.
Yeah.
I don't know where your dad worked.
He worked for the railroad.
What about you?
PRR.
What about your dad?
He worked for the railroad. He was a brakeman on the railroad all his life.
And did he live in Hollidaysburg?
He lived in Duncansville.
Duncansville.
Yeah.
And when did he die?
When did he die? Oh, 10 years ago. I'm having trouble remembering those dates now.
What? Excuse me, go ahead.
Somebody asked me something about the dates when somebody died. I go to that book.
She said you're the historian for this town?
Yeah.
What's the history of Duncansville?
Oh God, I can talk about that all day. This town was first the record we have is 1808, when a guy by the name of Smith came to town. And then this town started to build, and there was a guy by the name of Jacob Walter settled part of the town, and a guy by the name of Samuel Duncan settled the west part of town. And because of the confusion of the two towns so close together with two different names, they decided they needed one name for it. So on the bridge across the main street there, they met one day and tossed a coin to see what the name of the town would be. And of course, Duncan won the coin toss. That was in 1831. And then, when the Pennsylvania Canal came through and the terminus was in Hollidaysburg and they built the Portage Railroad, went right straight through Duncansville, and at that time the town started to grow pretty well then. And the foot of 10, which was the foot of the first plane up over the mountain, being right near Duncansville, Duncansville sort of grew by the fact that the plane, foot of 10, was right here. And that old railroad bed right up there was the original Portage Railroad bed right through Duncansville. And then when the highway was built, first highway went right through Duncansville. It was built in 1819, and then they built the William Penn Highway right straight through Duncansville. So that kept Duncansville on the map.
Mm-hmm.
And they had an iron factory here, a rolling mill, and a nail factory, which was doing a big business and employed a lot of men. To one of the steel mills, the United States Steel Company in Pittsburgh, to get rid of the competition of the Duncansville mill. They bought them out and closed it down. So then that was they closed it down through a period of about 4 years, and the last work was done in 1903. And from that point on, the people in Duncansville had no industry. They nearly all moved out of town or went to work for the railroad company. So the railroad company sponsored the people in Duncansville. Now the railroad company's closing down, not many working, so this is a community of retired fogies.
Let's just see.
I would have been there too.
She put a scab in her dictionary. He's not taping. He is.
No, I'm not taping.
You better not be.
Just a little white lie, that's all.
Yeah.
Right.
I never should tell lies. None of us should tell lies.
Right? You always say I'm never getting pictures.
Is this one of those talking things?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is Ellen, the young one in the old video. You can't hear anymore?
She's old, the baby. I'm the baby. I'm the baby.
Yes, the older we get, it's good to be the baby, isn't it? Bud?
Hey,
How you doing?
you working hard or hardly working?
You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm working hard.
Oh, that was coming.
Did you land it on your head?
Let me see.
Break the stairs?
Give me two. Oh, that's better.
Make you feel better?
Now, you may not walk down these stairs.
What do you do, come up these and go down those?
Yeah.
He's photographing.
John, do you know the name of the book?
One of them's a boy. One of them's a boy.
She never ever just died. It was never the one that was
No, she just died. She just died. I wasn't there, but that's what they died.
I mean, they still have that big.
Of course, she had stopped at 7-Eleven in a stupor, and a cop was there going,
Bill,
Yeah.
last name?
Swearback.
And you're married to,
Amy.
and let's see, how many kids you got now?
None.
You don't have any kids?
Kids.
You lucked out. But soon, right?
Maybe.
Okay. Married.
September 29th.
What year?
2 years ago. 91.
91? Okay. Tell me what you think. You having a pretty good
I'm
time?
having a great time.
I'm glad you made it up.
Poor little baby Jonathan. Poor little miracle baby.
Is that a miracle baby?
Poor miracle baby. 212 was born.
And then they get one, they're so thankful with the one they got, and they're so neat, you know?
Yeah.
And they're not like anything you thought they would be like, you know? And his birthday is when again?
He was born January 21st, and he was due April the 12th, so he was 12 weeks early.
Real premature.
Very premature.
And this is,
Got out of the hospital March the 26th.
this is Miss Helen Neely that hasn't been around for 30 years.
David.
Hasn't been around you in 30 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Where, let me ask you one question. Where's your gray?
Jonathan, look
Where's my gray?
You don't have any
In
gray?
my hair?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got about 18 of them.
Do you?
Now, this one. Yeah, this one right here. And it broke Karen's heart. She couldn't come this year.
What you smiling about?
I thought you could say it broke Karen's heart when you got your first grade.
She got
Let's see, this is Mark Gottlob, and he's married to
Vicky.
Vicky
Neely.
Neely. And you were married when again?
Married in 1970.
Seems like forever, doesn't
2
it?
years. We were going together 5 years before that. We practically raised each other.
Practically.
I think my family raised Vicky. They think they did. He seems much more like the Marion kind to me.
His sister had taken the plunge.
The wild woman, he was
That's
afraid
why you
of.
marry me, damn it.
We went over on August 21st. I says, I'm a day older than you are.
That was amazing, and they're first cousins.
And he looked 6 years. He looked 6 years older than I did, didn't he?
Yeah.
Why isn't you?
Y'all first cousins or second cousins?
Second cousin.
Second cousin.
My grandfather's brother. He came from one of the
Right.
second cousin.
So
Yes, guys going through my boxes and Jason says, this is a New York edition, he said, but it's English free. He said, if you said I'd pay you that $2,500. I said, well, how much? He says, I'll pay you.
And he's really, I mean, he just wants to tour his
It would have been like maybe $800. I said, no, I'm not going to sell it. If it's worth it, I want to keep it.
Somebody was talking about how much Erica and the other girl looked alike.
They do look
And I
alike.
don't know what their relationship is. It'd be interesting to know how.
This. All right, Pally, what do you got to say this year? Let's see, you made it another year. Right? That feels good. Feels good.
I made it another year.
And your next year, good-looking brother.
See you later, Joan. We're leaving.
Yeah. You were a baby when I saw you last. You know that? That's how long it's been. That's how long it's been. What's this guy's name? What's his name?
This one,
Yeah.
Mark.
Mark what?
Mark Richard.
Mark Richard? Huh? When were you born, Mark? Born? Your birthday. When's your birthday? Don't think too fast now.
1984.
You're acting like your granddad now. Now, who's this one down here? The good-looking one. Clay, this is your cousin I was telling you about when I got home? That you missed out on? Her name is what?
Emily.
Emily. You remember last time I taped you, you were over by those stairs when you were about that big. And when's your birthday, Emily?
July 11th.
1976. Who's this one?
Aaron.
Aaron.
You are about playing instruments.
Larry Elizabeth. And you're born?
September 2nd, 1979.
And
I'm not telling you.
beautiful as ever. When's your birthday, Cindy?
November 21st.
1950, right? 50? 52. 53. I knew I'd get it out of you. And Richard, right? How you doing? Sorry I didn't see you today. And who is this?
This is Courtney.
How's her English?
Pretty good. You can talk.
I've never heard her.
You've never heard her?
You know where I was. We were at the church.
See, last time she wouldn't let me do this. She's
What are
gotten.
you doing anyway?
Now, what's your name again?
Rachel.
Rachel. And you're John's daughter, and you're going to be in what grade?
Nice.
Next year. And when were you born?
77? October in 77.
October.
10.
Good. Somebody else has a birthday October 10th.
That's the 11th.
There's another 10th here today. Can't remember who. Who's born October? Helen, who's born October 10th in your family?
Mom, I'm back to nobody.
No, there is.
No, my
Maybe
son
Mark.
Neely
Maybe it's
was.
Mark.
Did you see David?
Andy, you're Jeff.
Yeah, I thought you were talking to me.
Okay, Andy. And you're the good-looking one. And you're going off to college next year. Have you already graduated?
Nah.
What are you doing now?
2 more years.
2 more years? You're going where? Delaware?
He's in Delaware.
Why did he go to Delaware?
Oh, okay.
Because I heard there's ugly women in Delaware.
They're fat.
Yeah, and they're fat. You think any of them will go for him?
That's usually the type that don't.
Y'all, which one of y'all played soccer?
I played a little bit. I played a couple of years.
Y'all still fight much?
We fight? Not as much as we used to. I'd like to fight more, but we don't get the chance.
He knows when to back off, huh?
He's bigger than me now.
Oh, he's bigger and stronger?
I went to stronger. He's still dumber.
Oh, rough.
No slack on these two.
This guy, when I first met him, you won't believe what kind of shape he was. He was stocky and
No
strong.
kidding.
Yeah, what's going to hell?
Okay.
Oh, he's let his body go down.
Hey,
So good cooking.
be nice to me.
So ever since he started drinking?
He drinks now?
All the time.
Don't I wish.
Don't have time. You got to pay the bills. College education.
2 of them.
Is it
at the
tough?
same time. Keeps me in the poorhouse.
You just have 2?
3. Stephen's 13.
Where's Stephen? I didn't see him.
He's, I don't know where he is. Where's up on the porch?
How are you going to afford 2 at the same time? That's tough. And then
We eat lots of beans.
you didn't put him in state either, did you?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard it.
He was accepted at Penn State.
Yeah, why didn't you go get a good education at Penn State?
Don't know.
Why didn't?
Look what it did for him.
That's what I kept telling him.
Bye.
Boy, no respect when you get old. You know what?
I say they get old, they just beat up.
That's it. We got the light behind me. I better get it over here. This is your good side.
You don't have a good side.
This is. Hey, this guy's great. He's my best relative right here.
Boy, I'll tell you, that isn't saying.
This guy's got personality, I can tell. When are you born, Jeff?
71.
What year? I mean,
March, CO, March 19th.
March what?
19th.
Can you believe he's born on the same day I was?
No, he wasn't.
He was, March 19th.
Kidding.
That's unbelievable, isn't that uncanny?
It's amazing even if...
I can't believe the baby of the family's 72. That's hard to believe.
Life is like that.
Life is like that. This is the only time
All
you're...
the girls at 19, I get away with it.
This is the only time you're glad you're the baby, right?
Huh?
This is the only time you've been glad you were the baby.
I was just up there yesterday.
Why'd you do that?
It's because she's one of my best looking cousins.
We're all good looking.
That's true.
It's like Granny always said, you're only good looking Neely babies.
Well, Tom, tell me how you been, bud.
Oh, I've been great. Just worn out, John.
Just wearing out?
Wearing out.
You're not wearing out that bad. How old are you now? 38?
41.
Are you really? Are you really? That's terrible.
You're what? You're 10 years older than me, right, John?
No, she's the only one 10 years older than us.
That was cruel.
Who is this?
Sleesman. Pastor Sleesman.
Huh?
He's,
Pastor Sleesman. Earl.
Stephen. Fiance.
His daughter Missy is engaged.
He's Stevens, and you're getting into this family? God almighty.
I've been dragging my feet.
I mean, you don't want to have babies from this family, believe me.
That's how it turns out.
Look at us. Look at us. And there's
Well, they're cute babies,
Beth.
but something happened.
How are you?
I want to see this tape when it's...
I need. And there's Miss. I did remember your name. No, you know what? You know what?
Didn't even know I existed.
No. Remember, you've gained a little weight since I saw you last.
Yeah.
Because you used to be really skinny.
Twig.
You were a twig, and that's why you caught me off guard.
Scrawny Missy. Still
Where's
10 years
Ralph?
old. You've known me. He's at home.
Why?
He coils in our water heater.
He didn't want to come?
No, he would have came if he was done, but he didn't get done.
Does he have a beard still?
No.
He shaved off?
He has long hair now, though.
Well, he had long hair last time.
No, he had, well,
No, he did.
he had a beard.
The first time I came, he had a beard. And the second time I came back, he had long hair and a mustache.
Longer now.
Just longer? This is Curtis right here. And Curtis, hey bud. Now how old is he? All right, tell me his full name.
Curtis Robert Hollabaugh.
Curtis Robert Hollabaugh, and he was born
March 3rd.
March the 3rd, 1989 in Holliesburg, in Altoona. And the other baby is Casey. She can't. Casey. Hey, that's good. Casey Joe. And when was she born?
July 5th, 1991.
July 5th, 1991. She is cute. Now, is that just the two you have?
No, Scott's around here.
Oh, this is Ralph's mom. And she's got short hair. What are you doing with short hair? You're supposed to have long hair in that family.
You've met Ralph, right?
Name?
No, that's
Benjamin. Oh, that's a Ben, baby. That's Becky's Ben.
Levi.
Benjamin Levi.
That's easy to remember.
Well, go up to the MP and get a...
That's her baby.
Right, that's her baby.
Her baby.
That she's been trying for forever and ever and ever.
Now we got him. What do we do with him?
I talked to him in a squeaky voice and he shut right up. He likes it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you and Amy, we're always good at the squeaky.
There's a woman that would have gotten mad at me if I hadn't shown up today.
Turn my back.
Oh, I got the back end. Do have the back end. And Janet?
Sent him back to South Carolina.
You must be bored.
We would have had a reunion.
Now, whose son is this?
What are you doing now, feeding the
Is
flock?
Helen's son?
That's Stevie.
That's Stevie?
Stephen Earl Darius.
What's it like to have two big brothers? Tiring?
Yeah, I sucked out the eyes, so.
Yeah. Sing it again, Catherine, because John didn't get it on his video.
Yeah, we got to do this again.
Oh, all right.
What do you say when you're over the hill?
He hasn't reached that point yet. He's
I don't know, I guess just leave me alone.
Where's Grace?
He told me he was coming back up on his way.
I don't have much to say.
I'll make you a board and you can back up and
No.
On this. Where's Grace?
That's a good picture. Well, that's what it's nice. If this came back up for you.
Catherine?
Well, how does it feel to have balloons again?
How does it feel what?
Have balloons again.
She's in here with the baby.
Pretty young.
Oh, the kids were playing with a we were getting that maybe
My grandson. Papa, what do you mean, Papa? Am I your Papa?
Erica.
No!
Why?
No, take this.
I got to get Rebecca.
Get Rebecca, yeah.
She don't mind.
I have better grades.
You have what?
Or take the better grades.
better grade.
He's waiting.
You tied it when you're
Oh, thank you, bud. Can't drop that thing.
I don't think I can get him out of there.
You want me to do that?
What?
But she was going to fix it up for a birthday present.
Okay, let's hear happy birthday real loud.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Charlie. Happy birthday to you.
Come on out.
Bye-bye.
Catherine.
What page was that on? I couldn't follow.
That one
Join the party.
Missy, you're supposed to be out here singing.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Missy, you
Come on, Missy.
Did you?
We know.
Okay, page 16, and after that we'll go by request. There will be a few we won't play even if they request, but... Already
Doris went home and put her shirt on.
Page 16. Go by the numbers at the top of the page. Numbers in a circle are corresponding with another book I have from which I plagiarized all these
What are we
words.
gonna sing? What are we gonna sing? The feather bed? Bye Bye Love.
How about Grandma's feather bed? Oh, we can do that too. Here, Missy.
Hi,
Polly,
Dave.
is Doris?
Never heard of that.
Polly,
This is
Polly.
Everly Brothers.
Polly,
16.
is Doris 50?
Come right through here.
She sure is.
When did that happen? Last November.
You and Wilkes.
There's
5-year-old
my baby
Poor kid.
with someone new. She sure looks happy. I sure am blue. She was my baby till we stepped in. Goodbye to romance and my destiny. Bye-bye love, bye-bye happiness. Come on, I'm through with romance. I'm through with love. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Charlie. Happy birthday to you. Okay, got it or what? No, I can put your finger on my face.
I have one, a couple of mine. I have one of mine.
You need that.
I've been playing musical chairs.
What's he doing, getting stuck?
Okay.
Well, if I can't raise that,
What's that?
What other one?
Yeah.
It's in the car. It's in the car.
Flavors everything.
Very nice. Thank you, Amy and Becky.
I'll be both of us. She loves. Stand over here. Let's stand over there. Stand over here. Put my glasses on. Take them off. So everybody back here. You can't go down this step. No, no, no.
I don't
Pull
know.
all the harder. Ah, let me go.
I'm gonna throw down my pacifier and go down these steps.
You can't stop me. What? you go down backwards, that's fine.
Thank you, Casey.
See, I helped her down the step in the living room with my hand. She grabbed my hand.
That's not a real good idea. She said, "Oh, she'll turn around and go backwards." Well, she didn't turn around and go backwards. She was going down straight.
Happy over the little birthday.
That one.
Yeah, huh? You did that to me.
You know, this one's stronger.
Hey, no, I didn't have anything to do with this. I didn't do that. I just marked the milestone.
Was it crab? Ornamental stuff.
Thank you, Ray.
Hey, Dad, move that geranium. It keeps getting on Charlie's head.
Just chop that one off. Just chop that one off.
He's gonna be batting it away in about 2 seconds.
No, that's all right. The sun...
It needs pinched back anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
That's one solution.
Gotta go a little further, all right.
Just what I needed.
10,000.
Wow.
I know you did it, did you?
They just hear me shout. Holy cats. A lot of dough. They play the numbers tonight.
Yeah. So you can make more dough.
You give me that.
So you'll be, what, 55 with a teenager? That's gonna be hell.
Hey, like your shirt? Being 10 with a teenager, I mean 50 with a teenager, and with a 10-year-old.
Wait till they're a teenager.
Let's change clothes.
I have this shirt. I'd rather wear it around.
Hey, you're gonna wear that when you're out looking.
Last September, I'll be 50. Oh, it's better than the alternative, right?
So they say. I wouldn't know.
You all have the same cereal?
What's that?
Yeah. Good on the day you were born. Yeah, somebody might get you like trying to
Very nice.
pull something off there. Yeah, you get caught using that.
Yeah. Is that it?
It went down a couple of weeks in April. It went down in April. Yeah, present for someone with the past.
I think you saw this.
Overweight.
Oh, yeah, right. She picked me Rebecca Hammer, how do
Steve, I had done it.
It really was that was
I had done it.
That was America. With the lines on it.
Before I get there.
We've used all the
He's over there.
Somebody gets home
Here, let's go.
How do you want me to cut
Any way you want. Yellow and
You can peel that to the side there.
Uh-oh, there you come again.
She knows when they're on.
Spitting up again, boy. He's really spitting up now.
I gave her
I'll get back to you.
Oh, Joe.
It should be in there.
Oh, good.
We'll get you a pair
Oh,
of
they're the parents. And he was 11 months old.
You gonna let me know?
Oh, that's interesting. No, not hardly.
He had a lot of ground, I guess. And then they went out to Indiana for some
As soon as I
reason,
saw
and
your
they
dad with
took
that
off
t-shirt
and
on, I
back
knew it
here.
must be an Irish t-shirt, and sure enough, it's
The Barleys did.
Yeah.
So who's the beam? How's the beam fit in?
My grandmother my mother's mother was a bean.
Okay.
My grandmother was a bean. Your grandmother was Barb.
Did you hear
Maybe
what
they
fortune
are.
they are related to that? The beams
Huston
are...
beam?
Well, that bean out there in Las Vegas, he was a cousin.
Yeah, a cousin of our
And
grandmother.
they owned the ground where they built the casinos on.
Oh, yeah?
They were there before they were.
He just died recently. A lot of
He
money was
just
flowing to the
they
university.
have a college out there. They named it
Yeah,
Wingenau.
they endowed a college called Dean.
That family and my wife's family, we ought to
The
be
college
rich.
of the university?
Yes.
Because my wife's family owned the post office, the land that the post office was built on in San Francisco. Except the guy wanted a poker game. The State Department had the thing, the Department of Commerce, and I have all these papers at home, where they had answered and traced the thing back to the King of Spain. And they said that they showed where it was deeded from this place
Yeah,
to this
but I
place.
figured I might as well tape something.
They said that
I just want to get what they're saying.
the deed that
where
this
your
guy
thumb
wanted
goes,
to
is
plug
that
the game
the
was a
mic?
forgery.
The mic's
Little holes.
right here's the mic,
What's this?
just for grabbing, just kind of.
Well, then old Peter Ainig, he was one of the earliest settlers up there, and we were one of our earliest ancestors in that line.
Yeah, I saw that one.
He was the first postmaster in St. Clair.
That's
He ran an Indian trading post up there.
that's in Hollinsburg.
So they say.
They turned Granddaddy's house into a post office, didn't they?
That was turned into a post office, then it burned down.
Yeah, it started to.
Halfway up where we went, on our way back,
It's a shame that burned down, because that was
had all
quite a
his
house.
dogs and stuff, and he invited us into the
I had an idea that had been a hotel or
goat
something.
and two baby goats. He had two different kinds of dogs that
I remember
ran
the last
fence.
time I was over there
Then he
with
had these
Mom,
two
there
chickens
was
following us up when we walked up the
An
street.
awful big kitchen.
big chickens with feathers
across the street. I don't know.
They look like banties, only they're huge.
Somebody
and
she used
and
to
the
go visit all
male
the
had
time.
this little baby, about this big.
She took me
with
out to
feathers
that
on
printing
its legs,
shop,
following it
wherever that is, where this guy's got that old printing press.
That's New Enterprise.
Yeah.
And we got up there and the two little goats, and
Yeah,
one little
the
goat had
Emperor
little
Press.
horns coming through its head. Through its skin on its head.
Were they buttoned and pierced?
No, because one was a girl. And they were real, I mean, they were just like this tall.
I don't know why she ran off. She could have stayed and drove with it.
Was Duncansville changing much? Staying about the same.
It stays pretty much the same. They have, it's enlarged a little bit. It's got, back streets that they didn't have when I was a kid, but it hasn't changed much lately. And you wanted to be the mayor of a town one time, Charlie. You go up and they say the mall in Altoona constitutes more ground than the whole town of Newry. And Newry's in all kinds of problem right now. They don't have a mayor, and they got don't have much of a tax base or anything. That'd be a good place to move into. You just take it over. Win the lottery, you can go up and buy the whole damn town.
Yeah.
They had ideas when old Cassidy that settled that town, he wanted that to be the crossroads instead of Duncansville. It would have been, the main road would have gone straight through Newry instead, but it didn't pan out that way, so they kind of got bypassed.
Yeah, this is the towns along
Now
there.
this is a good restaurant here, if you want someplace to eat. That's where I do my boozing.
Those towns along there are from Claysburg, St. Clairsville, most.
I haven't been down here. They're doing some road work down here. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
When they put that new highway through, it kind of cut them out.
Yeah. Well, this right here is a bypass of Holliesburg, and this has killed the uptown of Holliesburg. When you start taking cars around the town instead of through it, well, ain't nobody gonna stop and buy anything. These people down here do all right.
Yeah, we ate in there last time we were down.
You took us there for breakfast or something.
But I like the canal has better. That's better ambiance, I guess you'd say. But the canal has better food, I think. I guess I'm not gonna follow him because I know where I want to go. I haven't been down
There
there
much snow up where you're
since they started all this crap.
Really?
Yeah, we can. I mean, there have been years when we've done.
Yeah, one year we got 2 foot of snow.
You don't
and
suppose
every
we were
other year
supposed to
get
go in and
like
out
3 or
among
4
them
inches.
barrels, did you? This wasn't a driving
Last
test,
year
was
we
it?
just got a dusty once.
You get stranded when you
I guess we did it right.
We did that one year.
Our house is up a well, the road to our house makes up a race road. It's like a super high.
Yeah,
The
that's it.
surface is awful.
This thing's bogging down. Why?
Four-wheeler, right?
Still have a paper mill out here.
Not in Williamsburg,
We
no.
did have
They used to have one, didn't they?
one night this
Yeah.
springtime.
Smell
It
it,
rained
look.
so hard.
Yeah,
You
that-
get
they
roaring
turned out
space
way
from
back
one end when the wind blowed that way, and you get it from
They
Williamsburg.
turned that into an envelope factory. Now I guess it's still
Bridge
running.
at the base, the little stream at
Oh,
the
They
base.
print,
of the
they print
road.
stamps on
The bridge
envelopes.
was actually washed
Oh, it
out.
remind me of boiled cabbage.
Yeah,
Every time
well,
I
Roaring
see it.
Springs still has it.
My car, Mark had to drive his car down.
Williamsburg
40
don't
miles
have it
to the
anymore.
bridge.
Roaring Springs
Wade
still
across
has
the bridge and walk me across the bridge. It's so bad.
Living in the country, it's exciting.
Yeah, it floods here about every other year.
Yeah. That's the first time since we lived there I actually went over that bridge when we saw it. You know, other times we get up and
This is Frankstown. This was one of your headquarters at one time. This could have been bigger than Holliesburg. They wanted to make this the terminal for the canal, but instead they took it to Holliesburg. But in the beginning, this was a crossroads in the early days.
That's really pedestrian.
Where the trading post and all that stuff was.
And what county is this?
We're in Blair County.
Blair County. Railroad town. This is the railroad town it used to be. Looks like.
But this never grew. It's not this not that.
I asked Charles, how did your mother get to Bedford? Because she taught there?
She was born there.
Oh, is that where she was born?
Born in St. Clairsville, always right outside of Bedford.
Okay.
20 miles or so.
You wanted to know how she got out of St. Clairsville. I told her probably moved when she married Dad.
Yeah, that's when she moved and went to Crestline, Ohio, I guess.
What's that question?
But she taught school, I guess, within bicycle range of St. Clairsville. Cave in on the highway and they built that retaining wall up. And we'd have probably had to dodge caskets there. I don't know what else he's waiting for.
Just checking out this good-looking girl here.
All right.
Just lined up neatly in a row.
Guy back here, that down.
Talking about somebody.
Beth told me where they had.
Oh, there you go.
Who was the first wife of Samuel Neely. And she's James Upshur Neely's mother.
That's our grandmother.
Right. The wife of Samuel Neely.
That's my great-grandmother.
Your great-grandmother.
Holy man.
It's your great-grandmother.
That's my great-grandmother.
Beck, that's your great-great-grandmother. How about that? Isn't that neat?
And see, that's her grandson.
Now, the reason she's buried there...
And that one I almost got named for, Samuel Walker Neely. He died on January 23rd, whatever
They
date.
got the lot.
I was born on January 23rd.
That's why
If
they're
they'd have
buried.
known that, if they'd have known that, I'd have been...
Were they one of the first ones to be buried out here?
Right. Now, the rest of the family's
They were
buried
just dying to get in.
Her husband is, her husband is the furthest back north.
This is Route 22
Yeah.
to Harrisburg.
Right. Harrisburg or to Pittsburgh, the other direction.
Catherine
Between Harrisburg and
Rogers'
Pittsburgh, this is the main
husband
line.
Samuel, born June 14th, 1808.
Why did it say Annie?
And this is his second wife, and her name was Mary. And
Was she
she's
was
the
she
mother of
Rhodes?
Old Beck Davis.
She wasn't the Rhodes.
No.
Where was the Rhodes? Where'd
I'll
she?
get to her.
You'll get there, all right.
Yeah. No, this one's Mary, whose her name was Davis, and her maiden name was probably Wetzel because I have a
Yeah,
letter.
I know the Wetzels. I knew that name.
So they called her Aunt.
Yeah, Annie's the other one.
Aunt Polly.
Samuel?
Should have done that.
Samuel?
Yeah.
Now,
You should have named him Samuel. Or there's another Samuel.
Samuel.
This is the same one.
same marker.
He had two wives. This is the,
Over here is James.
this is the other wife. That was his first wife. That was his first wife up there. This is the second wife. She died and he married this one.
But this James says Samuel Neely's buried here, and
Is this-
then
No,
this is his
his
wife,
wife's
Mary-
buried over
Mary
there.
Ellen. And that little marker.
What, he got buried on the other side?
That's a baby, yeah. That was a
He's
baby.
buried on the other side?
Well, his marker it's on the same
He
stone.
was a baby. That one up there is
They
our...
just made use
We're
the
not
stone.
related to this one. We're related to the man, but not the woman. The woman married after. But that's the one that...
But
Where
it
did
says
he
her name on the side there.
He married two women named Anne? No, he married Samuel and Mary, and Annie's their daughter. And that's the wife. Aunt Catherine's the wife that we became. And this is his second wife.
And so here's where Annie's buried.
He didn't divorce anybody. That one died. The one, our great-great-grandmother died, and then he married this thing.
This is Annie.
This James is yours.
This is Annie, and that's Aunt Catherine.
And Mary.
Is that Aunt Mary?
Those are two different. And this is Aunt Mary, Mary E. up there.
That's,
That's Aunt Mary.
That's the Aunt Mary I knew.
Right.
I didn't know she was buried down here.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes she even has a flower, Uncle Rafe, when you
How about that?
I guess probably Mingle put it on,
Might
right?
be.
Okay, now we all have to move on down here.
Yorkie, down here, my grandpap.
I can never find it, Uncle Rafe.
Which one? I know it was down there. Huh? They weren't Bridewell monster, were they? That was a, what was the name of that?
Okay, look at the Downings.
There's Downing right here.
That's not the right one. Oh, wrong one, huh?
It's an old looking center. Must be these
Yeah, we saw another Edmund. We saw an Edmund Grace over there.
Well, anyhow. That's Mary Ellen Downing's parents, right? James Downing, and he's the one that was the lock tender on the canal.
He's the one that what?
He was a lock tender on the canal. He didn't build it, he tended it. He tended it. He opened the gate and put the water up and down. Is this James W.'s father? And this is Mary Rose. No, this is his wife of James W. Downing. And mother. Okay.
First up here is Mary Ellen. That says she's Mary M.
Mary Ellen is their daughter. Mary Ellen Downing is their daughter.
Okay, where's James Upshur now?
He's right there on that same stone with Samuel.
Oh, all right, I didn't do it.
On the back.
Okay.
Right.
This is Jane, huh?
Where's your van on the other side of that van? Yeah, I guess.